Okay. Sean, if you want to tell me what happened when you first suffered heart issues and problems?
Back in 2009, and I was training for the Edinburgh Marathon. 11 weeks into an 18-week training programme, been for a run that Monday morning. Everything fine, went to bed that evening and never woke up. I were dead for approximately 15 minutes. My wife kept me alive, kept me going until paramedics came. I was taken to Doncaster Hospital where I was treated for a heart attack.
Crikey. Wow. And have you had any heart problems before this?
Nothing at all. I was absolutely fit and well, never smoked. Didn't drink a right lot at that time because obviously we were training, marathon training, and nothing in the family or anything like that, no.
And when you woke up and the doctors told you, what was your initial reaction?
I was in a coma for about a week after it had happened. I don't really remember anything 3 or 4 days before and a full week after it happened. But my wife seemed to think, she recalled that they told me, and I just turned over in bed. I was just silent and never spoke for 48 hours. I was just absolutely devastated at what had happened, because you're young, healthy, and then you're suffering at the time what we thought was a heart attack. So I was gutted, really.
And that's what makes this bizarre. There's been no previous symptoms, and you never had an issue like this before, and for this to happen must have absolutely been quite a knockout blow.
I spent 6 months absolutely devastated. You think your life's over, and you go through all emotions of what have you done wrong. You go back looking at things. Have I trained wrong? Have I been eating wrong? Have I been drinking too much? I'd never smoked. And it's the why me question. What have I done to deserve it? Am I being punished for things? You just, everything goes through you. Every emotion you can think of goes through you. It's rubbish, really.
And have you heard of totally fit people who've never smoked and have always been careful with their diets, like you had been, having something like this before, or was this the first time you'd heard about this?
This was the first time I'd heard, and you go through all the tests in the 6 months after. You're looking at your heart rhythm, you're looking at your structure, your heart and everything, and I just kept getting told that everything was fine. Your heart's massive, it's really strong, there's nothing wrong with it. We don't know what's wrong, we think and I were even taking medication that old people take for a heart attack, aspirin, things like that, and it's nothing wrong with it at all. Even today there's nothing wrong with my heart.
So this is what makes this a bit, an intriguing story. Medically you're sound,
yeah,
but you do know that potentially this could happen again, maybe.
It can happen again, and it has happened again since it happened in November of last year. So that was since I'd had me defib fitted, and like I say, you go through all the tests, and although my heart's structurally fine, it's an electrical problem within the system of the heart that stops it beating in a correct manner.
Tell me a little bit about the second incident, because the first one clearly was some shock, but what was it like for the second time round?
Second time round, we'd been Saturday evening, sat watching TV. I think it was about 10 to 10 at night, and I changed channel on TV, and that were it, and that's all I remember. Just changed channel. My wife says my eyes rolled back in my head. I passed out, blacked out, went absolutely bored rigid, and then just shot up in air, jumped into air as if my defib had kicked in. 35 seconds later, it was all over. I died. I was dead for 17 seconds or so. Come back round. 2 minutes later, I was stood up.
You've been dead twice?
Yeah, twice.
And now you're sitting here in your garden talking to us.
Yeah. Thinking of running another marathon next weekend.
Crikey. And, would it not after the second time? Like the first time initially you go, oh, this is serious. Yeah. After the second time, do you not think, maybe I need to stop running, stop being into this kind of fitness thing, because maybe I'm affecting myself?
Completely the opposite. It's made me more determined to do what I want to do. I've got things planned that I'm going to do this year, which people will say I'm silly, some people will say I'm blasé about it, but it's not. It's determination.
And what's it been like for your family to deal with? First
time it was hard, because my wife had to pick them pieces up for the 6 months, and you live it together, I suppose. I were down, you were depressed, you were off work, you were struggling to understand what had gone wrong, and then you go and see Dr. Sheridan at Sheffield. He diagnoses you really within a week, a week later he's treating you and your life's back on track. And it's a peace of mind. The defib's a peace of mind, not a...
And had you got checked before this, or ever thought about it?
No. Who will check you? No one will check. It's a condition that you could possibly have. But until it happens, how will you know you've got it? They don't check for things like this until it happens. It's just one of those things. Now I've got it, we're just going through the process of checking my children. I've got 2 kids and they're getting, next Thursday actually, on the 24th, they're in at Northern General for further tests.
How many people, say in the UK or around the world, does this kind of thing affect?
I think it's roughly 1 in 10,000, but not everyone. It doesn't happen to everyone. I think there's 1 in 10,000 can have it, but it doesn't always show itself. It's one of those type of genetic.
And when you're talking about it's to do with the electricity imbalance in your body.
Yeah.
Is there any cure for this?
No, there's no cure. There's a precaution. You fit the defibs, the ICDs or the SICDs, and you take beta blockers. And that's it.
For someone who's like myself, my girlfriend's a doctor, so I don't know what she's saying half the time. What does DC and IC and all this?
The ICD is an implantable cardio defibrillator, which it's the old style. It goes there. Mine's an SICD, which is subcutaneous implantable cardio defibrillator, and mine's here under my arm. And it's just, there's a trailing lead that sits just under the skin, over your heart. And it monitors the electrical patterns of your heart constantly, and if it's not showing properly, it will kick in and put it right.
There's an underlying issue with defibrillators that they discussed over the past few years, that sometimes they don't get maintained, they don't get checked. Sometimes the batteries die. Are you constantly being checked? Constantly,
every 4 months. I go religiously every 4 months. Currently, I went last time out April, and my battery life's at 67% life of the device.
And you said that your children are going to be checked now.
Yeah.
Is there a genetic pattern and a connection between this, or has it been proven yet?
Yes, there can be a genetic pattern. Some families it goes in each generation. Some families it will skip a generation. So at the minute, my children are clear. There's no signs of them having it.
What's bizarre and kind of scary about this is that it can be anyone. It can be you, it can be me, it can be any one of us. If you've any advice to people out there who are fit, healthy, happy, and like you are, athletic, and then all of a sudden this happens, what advice would that be?
I think if people are really serious with the running and their exercise, I don't think it hurts to go and get an ECG done through your GP. Tell them why you want it. Because of Fabrice Muamba, if you want, because it's the similar type of thing what happened to him. An ECG will pick up, it will show the first signs of the wrong activity within your heartbeat, and it's there. If you're serious, you want to do it, do it.
Were there any signs prior to this, or leading up to it, or even right before it happened?
Absolutely nothing. No warnings, no feeling ill, no anything. I'd had a dizzy spell. I blacked out once while I were running and just put it down to overtraining or heat, something like that, but it was obviously an aborted attack, and a guy caught me as I were running. I sort of blacked out, but other than that, you just put it down to being tired, things like that. But no, there's no warnings. It's not, even when second time when you sat watching TV, it will literally, I pick the remote control up and press the button, and there were nothing. I didn't feel ill, didn't feel dizzy. Nothing, no chest pains, nothing. It just happens. I'll show you the graph when we go back in. I'll show you how it works.
That is absolutely mind-boggling. When you saw Muamba and you heard about it, what was your first reaction?
It shook me a little bit, because everything that happened to him, the way it was written in the press, it was exactly the same. Exactly the same. I've since found out he's got the same device fitted. Dr. Sheridan's told me he's got the same device fitted. He's gone through the same processes, the same tests as myself, and it brings it home to you a little bit. It does slow you down a little bit.
What was key for us in the media about what happened to Muamba was not only was it a huge stage for it to happen in, but also it showed that no one is immune no one is safe. You've got a footballer on 50, 60 grand a week. It doesn't matter. No one is safe. Do you think that your views on life, as you said, they've changed a bit? Do you think that other people need to take this approach to look and just do what they want to do in life?
I do. I think life's for living. I understand that people have jobs and careers and people want to study, and that's good too. But I do believe there's got to be a balance. You can't go through life being busy. You've got to smile. You've got to go and enjoy yourself. You've got to have an outlet in life. This is my outlet. Doing this, I still work. Still got a job that I take very seriously. But it has to be that way. You have to smile.
You mentioned you were going to run. You're still running. When's the last time you ran?
Last time I run. White Peak Half Marathon this Saturday coming in Matlock as a warm-up, then Edinburgh Marathon next Sunday on the 27th. So it's a busy year. I'm already booked in for quite a few events this year. We're going to do a triathlon, an Olympic distance triathlon in July. Great North Run, I've got in that again. Loch Ness Marathon, I've already entered and paved, that's in September. And then we're going to do a 50-mile race in October for my sins.